This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Hello, good morning and welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. And yes, of course, we're talking about the Gulf Cooperation Council's meeting yesterday. It was the 41st summit, first one that took place in a very different location as opposed to where it would normally be taking place in a capital of one of the countries. And it took place in Al Ula region, a new destination that Saudi Arabia is hoping to promote for cultural and historical landmarks, and a very interesting time to promote it as well, because the eyes of the world were on Saudi Arabia for this summit, and we saw all the senior leaders arriving in that in the kingdom, and were greeted by His Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Now, the leaders of GCC states have signed the final communique of the 41st summit of the GCC Supreme Council, which was named the Summit of Sultan Qaboos and Sheikh Sabah, in appreciation of their efforts, the late leaders of the Sultanate of Oman and Kuwait. What they were looking at, the communique, was to restore joint action and reinforce the bonds of fraternity and solidarity between the people of the region.
Yeah, it also added that Egypt's signing of the communique comes to emphasize the fraternal relations between GCC states and this Arab country as well, based on the GCC statutes purporting that full coordination and cooperation between the GCC states do serve the supreme goals of the Arab nation. Also, this communique pointed out that the COVID-19 pandemic has evidenced what can be accomplished when world countries cooperate with each other, citing in this respect the unprecedented achievements made by the G20 summit during its convening under the presidency of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The statement also noted that confronting the COVID pandemic and addressing its fallout necessitates reinforcing Gulf joint action as follows. So there's so many things that follow.
Yeah, definitely, Rania. And what this essentially entails is that the Gulf countries will be working together as a joint unit. And this communique reinforces Gulf joint action in the region as well, which entails the restoration of relationships. So according to what we have here, it entails the full and precise implementation of the vision of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdul Aziz, who has been endorsed during the GCC Supreme Council as per an integrated and reliable schedule and accurate follow-up. So essentially, what this means for the GCC is the consolidation of economic unity and a joint defense and security system, as well as a unified foreign policy. And this is important. They also spoke on fulfilling the requirements of the GCC Customs Union and Gulf Common Market. They also spoke on the role of the Gulf Center for the Prevention and Combating Diseases, and working together as a single unit in facing the COVID disease and other pandemic. They also spoke about opening up more channels of cooperation and the provision of economic incentives, engaging the business sector and civil society institutions, and ensuring the empowerment of both women and youth.
Absolutely. Actually, yeah, they spoke also on developing technical capacities across all government departments, including AI, in order to ensure expeditious and also efficient execution of services and procedures, in addition to developing educational syllabi, healthcare, and e-commerce altogether, with enhancing cooperation between the GCC institutions. Also, they spoke about or touched on enhancing governance, transparency, accountability, and counter corruption through Gulf joint action, while benefiting from the outcome of the G20 summit, and also the Riyadh initiative on cooperation in investigation regarding cases of global corruption and chasing culprits, owning to the significant impact of corruption on economic development and sustainable development as well. and many other issues as well that they touched on, like strengthening defense integration between GCC states and also continuing the steps taken by the GCC and the G20 summit under the presidency of Saudi Arabia to confront the COVID-19 pandemic and mitigating its fallout.
Yeah, a couple of big points that were highlighted. Firstly, with the defense integration between GCC states, and as well as the enhancing and unifying of political stances. Those were very key takeaways from this summit as well, and what we'll see in time to come. Also, we'll hope that there is going to be great integration and greater unity, as well as with the idea of solidarity being the key theme of their agreement. Another key aspect that we could also look at is it comes at a time of 2 weeks before the inauguration of the new president in the United States. It also comes at a time when OPEC Plus is going to be meeting later on today to come up with the solution for the oil scenario. In fact, they met yesterday, and also came at a time with the developments over in Yemen taking place. So much would have been in the agenda, and a very historical moment for sure, and rightly so, paying tribute to senior leaders, naming the summit of Sultan Qaboos and Sheikh Sabah. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we have the business news headlines, and we shall return right after that, continuing the discussions with a bit more of an international focus on the Morning Majlis, and it will be all things the United States and North Korea. Up next, here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95. Pulse 95. It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Well, approximately 8% of the country's total population has received the COVID-19 vaccine, and that is according to the NCEMA. And also according to the official spokesperson of the UAE health sector, Dr. Farid Al-Hosni, she says that we aim to reach more than 50% of the country's population during the first quarter of this year with the vaccine drive. This will help us reduce cases in general, reduce critical cases in particular, and control the disease better in the next phase to come. So our goal in the next stage is to control the increase in the number of cases by reviewing the precautionary measures applied in establishments and institutions, and also emphasizing the commitment of all members of society to preventive measures. So in line with that, a new deal has been struck by the UAE to manufacture the Sinopharm vaccine, in addition to securing millions of readily available shots for the population. So the country will begin producing the vaccine under license from the Chinese drug maker later this year to meet not just local but also anticipated global demand.
Yeah, and look, this is in line with their goals. They said that they want to inoculate at least 50% of the population by Q1 2021.
Yeah.
Very ambitious, and it is going to be very interesting as well, because yesterday they also passed a decree or a guidance that government sector employees will be tested for COVID-19 every 2 weeks. Now, this
starts on January 17th. Yeah.
Yes, so we, as public sector employees, should be testing quite regularly as well. So now what's happening is with this new discussion and their interview with the National, the local daily here, they said that the deal includes manufacture of the Sinopharm vaccine in the Emirates by G42 and various partners. We'll be speaking to G42 once again later on over the coming few days here in the Morning Majlis. And the plan is to achieve herd immunity by later this year with up to 70% of the population covered. They're talking about how long immunity lasts once a person receives 2 shots, a probe into whether the vaccine is suitable for children, and a campaign to ensure volunteers who were given a placebo during the phase 3 trial receive the vaccination. The best news, and what has caught the attention of the world, you can even see it in Financial Times headlines, the UAE is giving out free vaccine for all. And that really stands out and really goes to show the tremendous effort of the country to combat the spread of COVID-19.
Yes, certainly. And this vaccine is also freely available at a great number of medical centers and health centers in the United Arab Emirates across the country. And this is a drive here to help protect vulnerable senior citizens with chronic diseases. And the ministry is providing them with priority health services as well. The jab comes in 2 doses. The first given after some medical tests and assessments, and the second is given 21 to 28 days later. And the UAE's National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority reported that the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine has shown 100% protection against moderate and severe COVID-19 infections and has an efficacy rate of 86%. The neighboring emirate is also offering the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for free as well, that emirate being Dubai, that is.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of questions for a lot of our listeners at the during the morning show. Do text us on 4215 if you've got any specific questions. We will be speaking to G42 hopefully later this week or even next week, and we'll put forward all your questions. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, what if I have high blood pressure? What if I have high cholesterol? What if I fall into the high risk category? Should I take the COVID-19 vaccine? Or I'm only 18 or 19? Can I go up and take the vaccine? Because we do know that the government and different countries across the globe are prioritizing the senior citizens and people of higher risk. And you can ask weird questions too. You know, can the vaccine give me bigger ears? Can it make my eyelashes grow? Anything goes, because it is what people are concerned about. Thinking if the vaccine's got any sort of side effects. And so do text us on 4215 with all your questions and maybe you can tweet us or even Instagram us, DM us using the hashtag #AskTheMajlis, and we will be speaking to G42 later on in the program. All of your questions will be put forward to them about the Sinopharm vaccine. Do let us know on the text lines 4215. We'll be right back after some musical entertainment and we'll continue the discussions from there on. This is the Morning Majlis only on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Welcome back to the program discussing the world's fight against COVID-19, and we head over to China. Its northern Hebei province has reportedly entered wartime mode after the province surrounding the capital of Beijing saw its first locally transmitted COVID-19 case in more than 6 months. And we're looking at 19 local infections and 40 asymptomatic cases reported between January 2nd and January 4th. The last time the province recorded locally transmitted infections was back in June 2020, and the provincial government is taking strict action in an attempt to control the COVID-19. This includes city and district and provincial level of contact tracing of those who had tested positive.
Yeah, and this wartime mode means investigation teams would be set up at these provincial, city and district levels to trace close contacts and those who have tested positive. The close contacts of those people would also be located, and the isolation measures would be put in place, and testing will be carried out. The Gaocheng district of the provincial capital, Shijiazhuang, would organize testing for all of its permanent residents and has put one village under lockdown, according to the local daily, adding that a working group has been sent to the city of Xingtai to guide handling of the epidemic. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next, because to have no COVID-19 infections in 6 months and then suddenly you find 19 local infections, 40 asymptomatic cases, that's not cool. And that is going to get everyone slightly worried.
Yeah, staying on the lines of this conversation, actually, I'm looking at news that just emerged on the World Health Organization investigating the origins of the COVID-19 in the city of Wuhan. Now, a team has been sent, but has been denied entry to China from the World Health Organization. 2 members had already set out on their journey. One has now turned back, and the other is in transit in a third country. So the WHO said the problem was a lack of visa clearances. The long-awaited probe was agreed upon by Beijing in December after many months of negotiations with the WHO. We know that worldwide, it was known that the virus was first detected in Wuhan in late 2019, with the initial outbreak linked to a market. So the WHO chief said he was very disappointed that China had not yet finalized the permissions for the team's arrivals, given that 2 members had already begun their journeys and the others were not able to travel at the last minute. He said, "I have been assured that China is speeding up the internal procedure for the earliest possible deployment." So we'll see that the mission is a priority for the WHO and the international team. So we'll see how that works out later on.
Yeah, and WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom also added that there's a bit of a logistics situation going on.
Yeah.
He did say he was disappointed that the entry hasn't been granted yet, but that is something that is unfolding and is expected to happen eventually. Now, the thing is, the reason the WHO is going to go to China is it's initially believed the virus originated in a market that has been selling exotic animals for meat. It was suggested that this is where the virus made the leap from animals to humans. But the origins of the coronavirus still remain deeply contested, and some experts said they believe the market may not have been the origin and that instead it was only amplified there. Some research had suggested that the coronavirus capable of infecting humans may have been circulating undetected in bats for decades. It is not known, however, what intermediate animal host transmitted the virus between bats and humans, and that's the purpose of the WHO investigation, is to try and figure out why this virus emerged and how.
Yep, it's going to be getting everyone's attention for sure. It's got our attention here on the Morning Majlis. We're certainly alarmed by the fact that it might have probably not emerged from that specific market in Wuhan. So it will be interesting to see how what facts the fact-finding team can unearth, and we will be discussing that in greater detail. Up next, we have the world of sports headlines lined up for you, and we shall return right after that here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Let's talk about strengthening bilateral ties. The Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Embassy of Latvia in the UAE have highlighted the importance of organizing joint events and exchanging visits between trade delegations to enhance the economic and investment cooperation between the 2 friendly countries. This came during the meeting between Abdullah Sultan Al-Uwais, chairman of the SCCI, and also Atis Jatnis, ambassador of Latvia to the UAE.
Yes, indeed. And this deal is set to promote the participation of Latvian businesses at events and exhibitions at Sharjah's Expo Center. And the SCCI chairman, that is the chairman of the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Al-Uwais, also spoke on the numerous benefits that Sharjah endows to foreign investors and the significant role the chamber plays in offering Latvian business people appropriate opportunities for launching their businesses and enhancing their presence in the region.
Yes, and we've seen such a great cooperation and a very active participation of the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry in enhancing global ties. And Al-Uwais also called on the Latvian business community to actively participate in the exhibitions at the Expo Center. And for his part, the ambassador of Latvia also said, lauded the solid relationship between the country in all fields, stressing that the economic economic cooperation between the two friendly countries is witnessing significant development in the trade exchange volume. He also welcomed the cooperation and coordination with the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry to better serve the business communities of both the sides. And it was worth noting that the trade exchange volume between UAE and Latvia amounted to 109.09 million dirhams in 2019, including 68.32 million dirhams of Latvian imports to the United Arab Emirates. So a very proud moment for the Emirate of Sharjah, and it is something that we're very proud of and love to discuss such developments. And speaking of developments, speaking of what's coming up next, we will take a bit of a break, a long break this time, give you some more musical entertainment to celebrate and to ponder over. We shall return right after the news headlines and talk about humanitarian gestures, and a very nice humanitarian gesture by a doctor who waived off hospital fees worth thousands of dollars. What's happened? Why did he do that? All of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the show. And got a pretty interesting product that Apple's working on. You're tracking lost items. It's called the AirTag, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember having that tag thing. That was, I think Nokia Lumia had announced it, and when I got my Nokia Lumia 800, very good phone.
That must have been a long time ago, huh?
Yeah, it was a very, very good phone, by the way. It was a Microsoft phone. I'm still proud of it. I still have it. In my drawer. So yeah, we were talking about this, that a lot of people do have a habit of losing things. Let us know on the text lines 4215. What do you tend to lose the most? For me, car keys all the time, wallets sometimes, but laptop all the time. Even though it's a big bag, it's a big machine, I leave it in the studio almost every other day. And then I drive off, and then I think, oh no. And I also have another issue. I'll go to a boxing gym with my own boxing gloves, and I always lose and leave my gloves behind. I don't know how, what, why. I just sometimes reach home and realize that I don't have it. Now, the Apple's come up with a solution for people like myself. Now, I don't deliberately do it, and I'm always conscious of things that I am meant to be carrying. But even then, I keep losing them, and that's very annoying. Now, this tag is something that's going to be made available at some point soon.
Yeah, news about the development of AirTag, that's what it's called. It's a small circular disc that can help users track their luggage, wallets, or keys. It actually first emerged back in 2019, but Apple has not officially revealed much information about this device. But it can be attached to personal belongings, and users receive regular notifications about the whereabouts of their items. Now, another thing that Apple is working on is an augmented and virtual reality headset. It's called Apple Glasses, but the company is yet to make an official announcement about that as well. But yeah, it's very interesting, the AirTag concept.
It is, yeah, definitely. And it's not a new concept. There's similar products already on the market, like Tile and Adero.
But anything that comes out from Apple, it's like,
it's a tag. It's like a Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's like a brand, Like, I own an AirTag.
Exactly. Plus, the other thing, too, is like it's going to be part of the Apple ecosystem, which means it's going to be fully integrated with your Apple device, your iPhone, your laptop. So it's got that
synchronized and all of that.
Exactly. Yeah. And the way it works is it's got a built-in chip that is going to allow this AirTag to connect to your iPhone and relay the position of the devices that they're attached to. And you're going to be able to use your iPhone, your iPad, or your MacBook to track the location of AirTags, much like you would find missing Apple devices. Now, as for what they're going to look for, they're saying they're going to be small circular white tags with the Apple logo on the front. There are presumably, and this hasn't been confirmed yet, but they will be attached via an adhesive or an attachment point like a ring. Or there might be multiple ways as well to use them with different kinds of items. So this is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think this is something that I'll definitely get my hands on for sure. It's going to be very ideal. There's also another issue that I always have is I forget sometimes where I've parked my car if I'm at a shopping mall for sure. Even though my vehicle, sadly, is very detectable from miles away, but I always tend to lose them in a car park. There's a lot of times when I do walk out to the car park, remember where I parked and realised, oops, I am a floor below where I'm meant to be, so it just happens at times. Well, stay with us on the Morning Majlis. If you've got any particular concerns and worries that you tend to lose some item most of the time, let us know on the text lines 4215. We'll be right back after a bit of a short break and we'll continue the discussions from there on. This is the Morning Majlis, only on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.